There's a certain kind of loneliness that settles over the countryside after dark, especially on nights when the wind howls and the rain falls in thick sheets. Nights like the one Mark Teller found himself driving through, one that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Mark was a 32-year-old software engineer, practical and skeptical. He had taken the long, winding route home after a stressful day at work, wanting to clear his head, listen to some music, and enjoy the solitude. The highway was flooded with construction, so he opted for the older back road, a forgotten stretch of rural blacktop that wound through dense woods and abandoned farms. As the storm picked up, his wipers struggled to keep up. Lightning lit the landscape in stark white flashes, revealing twisted trees and miles of nothing. Then, a figure. A young woman standing on the shoulder of the road, soaked to the bone, pale skin, a long white dress clinging to her frame. She was waving, a slow, deliberate motion. Mark slowed down, blinking in disbelief. She looked desperate, frightened, alone. He pulled over, hesitating for just a second before unlocking the door. She climbed in silently, water dripping from her dress onto the seat. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl. "My house. Just down the road. Please." She gave an address without looking at him, her voice little more than a whisper. Mark nodded and started driving, the cabin filled with awkward silence, punctuated only by the thudding rain and low hum of the engine. She never spoke again. She didn't even seem to breathe. Mark tried to steal glances at her, but the darkness swallowed everything beyond the dim dashboard light. Her face was strange, calm but distant, as if she weren't really there at all. 10 minutes later, they reached the address. A small farmhouse, weather-worn and dark, stood beyond a broken fence. Mark turned to tell her they had arrived, but she was gone. The passenger seat was empty, except for a wet imprint where she had been sitting. Shaken, Mark stepped out and approached the house. He knocked, and after a long pause, the door creaked open. An elderly man in a tattered cardigan answered. His expression was wary until Mark mentioned the girl. I just picked up your daughter. She asked to be dropped off here. She was wearing a white dress, long brown hair." The old man's face went pale. His hand trembled as he gripped the door frame. Old man, barely audible. "You saw her? Tonight?" "Yes, she was stranded. I swear she was in my car. But when I turned to say we were here, she was gone." Old man, voice breaking. "That was my daughter, Anna. She died 10 years ago. On this road, a drunk driver hit her. She never made it home." Mark felt a chill creep up his spine. Every logical thought drained from his mind. He looked back at the car, still idling, still wet in the passenger seat. Anna had been trying to come home, every stormy night since her death, hitching rides from strangers who never knew they were driving a ghost. Mark couldn't shake the image of the girl. Her soft voice haunted his dreams. He returned to the road several times, hoping for closure, or maybe even to see her again. But she never appeared. He told his friends. They laughed, told him it was stress or sleep deprivation. Even his therapist chalked it up to a hallucination. But Mark knew. He had cleaned the passenger seat thoroughly, twice, but every morning after it rained, the seat was wet again. One night he found an old newspaper article online. Local girl killed in rainstorm, Anna Whitmore, age 19. The picture. It was her. That same soft face. That same white dress. Months passed. Mark stopped talking about it. Life went on, but then he vanished. One rainy night, Mark Teller's car was found abandoned on the same rural road, engine still running, door wide open. No sign of a struggle, no sign of Mark, just a damp passenger seat, and long strands of brown hair on the dashboard. Some say he picked her up again. Some say she finally took him home. Others whisper that she was never looking for a ride. She was looking for company. The vanishing hitchhiker. Some roads are never truly empty. Emily had just moved into a weathered townhouse on the outskirts of Boston. The previous owners had sold it quickly and cheaply. Too quickly, too cheaply. But Emily, recently divorced, needing a new start, took it as a stroke of luck. The house, however, had its own plans. Emily lies in bed. Wind howls outside. The storm intensifies. She turns uneasily. SFX, soft whispers, barely audible, rising from the floorboards. She sits up, alert. Emily, softly. Hello? At first, she thought it was the storm playing tricks. But then, every night around 2:13 a.m., the whispers returned. Just loud enough to notice, just strange enough to chill the spine. Emily stands before the basement door. It's old, scratched, the doorknob tarnished. Curiosity, like a splinter in the mind, drove her to the basement. The whispers had a pull, a rhythm, like they were waiting for her. She opens the door. A waft of cold, stale air flows up. She hesitates, then flicks on the light. The light buzzes as it flickers. Concrete steps lead down into darkness. Each step groans under her weight. The whispers grow louder, more distinct now. Whispers. She's here. She hears us. Finally. Emily reaches the bottom. The basement is mostly empty. Just a few old shelves, dusty furniture, and a water-stained floor. She turns slowly, scanning. Emily. Who's there? The door above crashes shut. She sprints up, tries the knob. It won't turn. Emily, panicking. No, 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 open! Trapped! The air grew colder, the darkness thicker, and then something spoke from behind her. A shape in the far corner, barely visible, moves. A voice hisses out of the darkness. You're not supposed to be here. The basement light flickers rapidly. For half a second we see a man, face obscured, bound in chains, and behind him, shadowy figures twisted in unnatural poses. Emily, screaming, "What is this? Who are you?" But it wasn't just who, it was what. The figures weren't alive, not anymore, and they had waited years for someone to hear them again. A young boy is chained in the corner, crying. A stern woman stands above him. Woman, coldly, you will be quiet. You will stay down here until they forget you. Quick cuts of time passing, different children, the same fate. In the late 70s, the townhouse was home to a foster caretaker. Behind closed doors, she buried her secrets, one child at a time. And the basement remembered. Emily stares in horror as the ghosts emerge, their faces pale, mouths murmuring. Whispers all at once. Tell them where we are, tell them we never left. Emily, terrified, whisper, what do you want from me? Ghost boy. Justice. The door creaks open behind her, light pours down. Emily turns, runs up the stairs without looking back. Emily stands outside with a police officer. She points to the basement. When the police dug under the floor, they found the truth. Shallow graves, small bones, and with them, the whispers finally stopped. A new family moves in. A child sits on the bed. Child to their mother. Mommy? I hear someone talking from the basement. The mother brushes it off. Mother, it's just the house settling, sweetie. Go to sleep. Soft whispers begin. Again, some places don't forget. Some stories never end. And in the right silence, the basement still whispers. Inspired by true events, never ignore the whispers.